Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Gids. Now, if you watched my video about fragrances that have been discontinued, I spoke about this particular fragrance here, which is Paul Smith London, and I spoke about how much I loved it and how gutted I was that I can no longer find it. However, when I done some research, I noticed that Paul Smith have brought it back in a Eau de Parfum, and I had to pick up the fragrance. Now, I got this for a really good price. It doesn't retail for very much, it's only £25, but I got a further 25% off that price when a website I normally buy from called Essential had their 25% off the whole website. So we're gonna unbox it, we're gonna smell it, and I'm gonna see if this compares to the original of this fragrance. So let's open it. I love a brand new fragrance and just unpacking it. Okay, so let's get rid of the packaging. So that's what the box looks like, quite standard really. Also it's a different shape, which is interesting. This shape is quite unique, as you can see. I don't quite know why it was called Paul Smith London. I don't actually know what the significance is. It does smell like a coconutty, warm kind of scent. That's what I loved about it. So, okay, so this is the new version of the fragrance, as you can see. Quite a basic looking bottle, square. Doesn't really look anything special, but hey, for £25, I'm not gonna complain. So, okay, so this is I'm just thinking what material is this? Okay, it seems like some sort of, I don't know, it could be glass actually, because it's quite a heavy cap. Okay, so let's sample the fragrance and I'll give you my honest thoughts. Okay. Okay, and Okay, so this is very much the same DNA of the original fragrance, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray my original fragrance, which you can no longer find, on the right wrist. So I've got them on both. Okay, so it's very similar, very similar. So the notes in the fragrance, from what I've done the research on, are pretty much still consistent. You still have, it's mandarin, orange, there's I think there's some jasmine in the new version of the fragrance, but you still have the tonka, the amber, there's some mint and violet. There might even be some lavender as well in the fragrance. It does smell like the citrus notes in this have been a bit amplified, however. It doesn't smell as coconutty as the original formula of this fragrance. See, as it's drying down now, I can't really pick up that kind of tropical, coconutty, warm, kind of exotic feel that really made me love the fragrance. I mean, it's still really good for 20, I don't even think I paid what? About £18 for this fragrance. Let's give it a couple of sprays. I mean, for the price I paid, I think this is still quite an interesting fragrance. I would even say that this could definitely be a unisex fragrance because it's still a bit nutty. It still has a little bit of that coconuttiness. It's not as pronounced as, see, the original, the coconut is really strong, but the thing is it doesn't actually contain coconut. So I don't actually know how they've created that kind of composition. It's funny sometimes, you look at fragrance notes and regardless of the notes that are in the fragrance, it can smell quite different to what you would expect. It's very vibrant. It's very fresh. I think they've gone more for a fresher vibe. So it feels like the same DNA, but a lot fresher and easy wearing. See, now as it's drying, I am getting the citrusiness of the fragrance. The citrus is just really coming. It does smell a little bit synthetic and a bit chemically, if I'm honest. Definitely, does smell a bit synthetic. The original is a bit smoother in that regard. I think maybe the ingredients in the original, with it being, I think it was a more than 25, yeah, it was definitely more than £25 for the original fragrance. So I think this being sort of £25, they definitely have thought of probably making it a bit of an easier, simplified fragrance. It's nice. I definitely think this could be a fragrance someone could wear every day, in all seasons, or in all seasons of weather. This would be a nice fragrance to wear in spring and summer, but like I said, all year round this could probably work. Yeah, it's a work scent. It could really, you could pull this off at work, hanging out with friends, maybe running errands, just right now, just chilling at home. I think this fragrance would work. It's not super complex. It's spicy, it's a bit fresh. There's some nice citruses in it, but then there's warm notes in the base as well, which I said is where I think the nuttiness of this fragrance comes from, particularly coconutiness. Although the coconutiness seems to have slightly been lost slightly in the newer version. I mean, it is quite a strong fragrance. Like initially I'm smelling and it is quite strong. I am going to wear it all day. Probably I'll do a few more and just like really kind of give this a chance to see how this performs. So I will report back. But yeah, first impressions of this fragrance, quite pleasantly surprised. I think they did a good job. I was actually really thinking it was going to smell completely different, but you know, it is what it is. I think they've done a good reinterpretation of the fragrance. Just a shame that the bottle changed, but then I guess, you know, with the price, maybe they're kind of reflecting that as well. This just kind of looks a bit generic, looks a bit basic. And then you've got the Paul Smith London logo there. It would have been nice to have the Paul Smith logo just maybe there. Yeah, the cap is not really, as you can see, you've got a really, you actually have to twist the cap, which is really strange. And then you do that. And then as you can see that the actual spray thing is plastic, which is a shame. It's a shame for Paul Smith, because Paul Smith, I think, markets themselves as a luxury retail clothing brand. So it's a bit of a shame that this is what they came out with for the reinterpretation. But you know, so far so good. So I'll report back and let you know how the performance of the fragrance went, and I'll give you my final thoughts. So how did Paul Smith London hold up, the new version of this fragrance? Well, I would say the performance on this fragrance isn't the best. It probably lasted on my skin about 3 to 4 hours. I'm just trying to see if I'm getting any whiffs of it. I'm getting very slight whiffs, only because I did spray some on my clothing. But even that seems to have faded out quite significantly, and you guys saw I was quite generous in how much I sprayed on my skin. So a bit disappointing. I mean, it's a pleasant fragrance. This is probably a fragrance, like I said, for just hanging about the house, running a few errands. You know, it gives you a few hours, and you know, you can always top up. I mean, for the price, I can't really complain. As I said, this was £25 plus I got 25% off the fragrance. I did notice, however, the fragrance did smell very similar to the original version of this fragrance, which is this fragrance here. So if you're a fan of the original, you'll definitely like the current updated version. I just find that the citrus notes in this are a bit brighter, but you still definitely get that coconut vibe, which comes through a lot on the dry down of the fragrance. But yeah, on the whole, pleased with the fragrance. I think for the amount I paid for it, I got kind of a reasonable amount of performance. And yeah, this probably will be a fragrance I'll grab when I'm not sure what to wear and I'm just kind of here and there. I'll grab this fragrance. But one you'll need to top up every 4 hours, every 4 to 5 hours, I would say needs a bit of a top up. But yeah, that's my review of Paul Smith London. Out of 10, I'd probably score this fragrance about a 7, just based on the performance. But like I said, for the price I paid, can't really complain. But yeah, that was my review of Paul Smith London. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll I'll see you in my next fragrance video. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe and support the channel. Take care.